Marriage and other close relationships can be so satisfying and meaningful, but they can also be difficult. And so one of the challenges that we're going to talk about today is giving your partner the benefit of the doubt. So I'm here with Dr. David Johnson, and why is it hard to do that? You know, when we might see a situation differently, why is it hard to give her or him the benefit of the doubt?
Yeah, we all know this intuitively, and social psychologists studied it and gave it a name. So it's a long jargony name, but it goes like the fundamental attribution error. Mm-hmm. Attribution because when I make a mistake, I attribute it to external factors.
Right.
When my partner makes a mistake, I want to attribute it to her, to an internal, stable character trait.
Some trait or some characteristic that's inherent in that person.
That's right. So we have this built-in bias in our minds to make these really illogical assumptions about ourselves and about other people, but it's biased in a way that kind of protects us.
Okay, give me an example to help us figure out what this looks like.
Yeah, sure. So if I go out on a date with my wife and we come out of the movie theater and it's pouring buckets of rain, and we walk out in the parking lot and we start walking around, and I drove that day, and so I'm thinking, I don't know where the car is, but man, it must be that I had so much going on today that I just forgot the car. Like I must have been so preoccupied. I give myself a pass.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
If it's my wife who drove, man, I'm guns blazing. I'm character assassinating her. I'm thinking, I'm saying things like, "You're an idiot. How could you not? How could you be so forgetful all the time?"
Right.
I'm making it about her,
not
considering the fact that if she drove, it could have been her that had a long day. She had a lot on her plate, and the last thing on her mind was where we parked in the parking lot.
Right. That's a great illustration. And so, and not only, even if you don't verbalize it, it's still harmful because I could be thinking, and it creates a framework of how I view my partner even as well. So let's explore that for a minute and talk about what this does to relationships.
Sure. Yeah. So in extreme forms, this can be very toxic. I think this is kind of the kernel of how relationships build up into resentments and bitterness. And so John Gottman, this very well-known couples researcher, he coined these aspects, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Shows you how serious it is. So in extreme forms, things like not giving your partner the benefit of the doubt can look like constant criticism. So constantly levying insults. You're stupid, you're lazy, you don't care about us as a family. These stable character traits that over time really wear at the fabric of a close relationship. So criticism can lead into contempt. Contempt being the belief that I am better than my partner.
Right. It's not just about the behaviors, or it's about this sense of who I am or who he or she is.
Yeah, that I look down on you now. And there's subtle forms of this, but you can see it when a couple rolls their eyes at each other, passive, sarcastic comments. Those are signs of contempt that's building.
Yeah.
Lastly, there's 2 types of communication that really signal toxicity in a relationship. So one would be defensiveness. So if a partner is being constantly critical, one strategy to employ is to constantly defend against anything that they say. No matter how true it is, I'm going to reject it, and I'm not going to take any ownership. And that drives people crazy, and that makes people angry, and makes people not want to talk. And that's the last piece. It's called stonewalling. So imagine a partner building a stone wall or a castle around them and saying, you know what? I'm so guarded from you now that there's certain topics that I won't even talk about. And if that's the case, that really signals a sense of doom, because partners have to work through issues, and being walled off like that really disconnects from the emotional connection.
You end up without any real relationship in any significant way. So that seems pretty hopeless, but there are some skills that couples can use to maybe head that off at the pass, right?
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I like to teach couples some structured communication tools, because when things are hot, right, emotionally, when I'm getting poured on in the rain and I'm cold, I'm getting angry, I'm getting nervous. If I have a framework to fall back on, it helps. So it looks like this. It's called an I feel statement. So I feel, it's important to name feelings. There's something powerful about saying our feelings to then work with them. I feel angry. I feel anxious. Okay. I feel this way when, and then you fill in the objective facts of what's happening. No opinion yet.
Right. And you're not saying I feel this because you,
right.
You're just trying to keep it.
What's the facts? The facts are it's pouring. We don't know where the car is.
Right.
That's the facts. So I feel this way when it's pouring and we don't know where the car is.
Right.
Lastly, and this is the really crucial part, I feel this way when my thoughts tell me. So we're almost treating our thoughts and our mind as this separate entity that generates lots of thoughts.
Sure.
May or may not be true.
Right.
But it's what I've got. It's what I'm dealing with right now.
Right.
And it explains why I'm feeling angry and why I'm feeling anxious. So I feel this way because my thoughts are telling me that it's your fault, that you forgot where we parked. At the same time, I'm going to work hard and come up with some other thoughts like, maybe you had a long day and this was not something that you just put on your mental checklist. And maybe next time we'll come up with some other possible solutions. I'm having lots of thoughts right now.
Right.
And that's the second part. We call it the hopes. So my hope inside my control. There's something I can do right now, and I'm going to bring myself into this equation. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and you go ahead back to the theater. I'll walk around and I'll find the car. I have some influence over the situation.
Right. So there's something that you can do that's positive.
That's right. And at the same time, it's fair to ask our partners to contribute. So my hope outside my control is, and you fill in the blank.
Right.
Next time, would we sit together right before we leave the car and talk about where we parked? That way there's a verbal and visual cue and we're on the same page, kind of a little fail-safe system. And that way we don't get in the situation in the future.
Right.